At 5 o'clock local time, the ocean is almost unnaturally calm. No whitecaps, no swell, just a sheet of steel-gray water stretching all the way to the horizon. Inside the Combat Information Center, the first alert does not come with drama. It is ordinary at first. A soft tone, a fresh track appearing on the screen, then another, and then 4 more in rapid succession. 6 surface contacts emerge almost at the same time. Their bearings are spread out, their speeds uneven, and then those speeds begin to rise. Multiple new surface tracks. Range, 28 nautical miles. On the bridge, nobody overreacts, no raised voices, no sudden movement. There is no need. Everyone on watch understands what it means when 6 contacts appear like that. The radar operator narrows the scale, and the blurry marks sharpen into clean returns. Hull-sized military signatures, not merchant traffic, not fishing vessels. Condition 3. The words move through the ship with no panic, but with unmistakable weight. Weapons crews straighten up, hatches are checked, systems begin to wake. Not fully armed, not yet, but fully attentive. On the bridge, the carrier stays on course. 22 knots straight ahead, no deviation. Closest point of approach calculations keep updating. At first, the numbers tighten slowly, then faster. The 6 contacts accelerate. 20 knots, 24. One passes 26. They are not drifting, they are maneuvering with intent. The tracks begin to form a loose arc. On the tactical display, the geometry becomes impossible to miss. 2 contacts angle toward the port quarter. 2 spread forward. The last pair remain behind, offset, observing. A ring, still broad but steadily narrowing. Long-range optics come online. Electro-optical sensors sweep across the water. Zoom tightens. Heat blooms against the cool surface. Gray hulls, sharp bows, low silhouettes. Naval ships. The captain steps closer to the bridge windows. He says nothing. He does not need to. The picture is already speaking for itself. Recommend initial bridge-to-bridge hail. The order is given. The transmission goes out over open maritime frequencies. Calm, professional, controlled. No reply. The contacts keep closing. 20 nautical miles. 19. One of the ships adjusts course by 3 degrees. Small, deliberate, calculated. The arc tightens. Inside CIC, the track supervisor marks it immediately. Time stamped, logged. Contact Alpha adjusting for intercept geometry. The carrier answers with nothing, no turn, no speed change. On the flight deck, everything remains still. Aircraft sit secured in place, wings folded, as though the sea around them is empty. That is exactly the message. Confirm profiles. The analyst does not hesitate. Mast arrangement, radar placement, hull proportions, everything lines up. Russian surface combatants, 6 vessels. The confirmation changes nothing in procedure. Identity matters less than intent, and intent is becoming clearer by the minute. At 15 nautical miles, distance is no longer an abstraction. At this range, every correction counts. Every misstep has consequences. Forward, the 5-inch gun shifts a few degrees. Barely enough to notice, but enough for anyone watching through optics to understand. A message delivered without a single shot. Electronic support measures begin listening more closely. The ship is not broadcasting. It is receiving, collecting, sorting every emission, every sweep, every radar whisper. The Russian ships are active now, searching, measuring, painting the carrier. CPA drops under 4 nautical miles and continues falling. The ring tightens again. One ship edges slightly ahead, testing the space. Another lingers farther back, holding position like a reserve piece. This is not disorder, it is choreography. The carrier remains at the center, massive, steady, silent. A junior officer glances toward the captain. The captain never looks away from the water ahead, from the invisible lines taking shape around his ship. No one reaches for the microphone. No one speaks louder than necessary. Outside, the sea is still calm. Sunlight flashes off steel. To an untrained eye, it might look as if nothing unusual is happening. Inside the ship, every system is locked onto the same fact. 6 Russian naval vessels are closing on a U.S. aircraft carrier, and the distance between them is shrinking second by second. At 5:26 local time, the range falls below 12 nautical miles. At that distance, the ocean stops feeling like open space. It turns into geometry. Angles matter, speed matters, intent becomes visible. Inside the Combat Information Center, the surface picture tightens again. The 6 tracks now move with purpose, no longer a loose arc, no longer a coincidence. They are shaping the water around the carrier. The tactical display refreshes in real time. 2 Russian ships slide wider to port, applying pressure from the side. Another pair angle in from starboard, their wakes bright against the dark sea. The final two trail astern, offset, controlling the exits. It is a textbook surface encirclement, not severe enough to justify immediate escalation, far too deliberate to misunderstand. CPA, 3.2 nautical miles. The carrier continues at 22 knots, course steady. The flight deck remains secured. No aircraft launch, no alarms. From outside, the ship appears indifferent. Inside, nothing escapes notice. Long-range cameras lock onto individual hull numbers. Radar operators isolate emissions. Electronic warfare teams begin cataloging signal patterns, pulse rates, power levels, sweep intervals. Every second the Russian ships remain close, they reveal more than they realize. Bridge-to-bridge hail, second attempt. The call goes out again, clear, formal, standard maritime language. Silence, no acknowledgement, no course adjustment. Instead, the answer comes through movement. A ship on the carrier's port bow increases speed to 27 knots. It cuts slightly across the carrier's projected track, squeezing the space ahead. Another mirrors the motion from starboard, not crossing, but closing. Pressure, not outright provocation. On the bridge, the officer of the deck watches the bearing lines draw inward. Recommend show of presence. The captain gives a single nod. No weapons crews rush into view, no launchers are uncovered. Instead, posture changes. Sensors sharpen further. Recording protocols activate across multiple channels. This is how presence is shown without firing a shot. The 5-inch gun adjusts again, only by a fraction. Slow, mechanical, impossible to misread through binoculars. The Russian ships hold their lines. CPA, 2.5 nautical miles. At this range, even wake interaction matters. A slight course change could throw dangerous turbulence across the water. The danger is no longer theoretical. Still, the carrier does not turn. That is not stubbornness. It is clarity. A carrier that changes course under pressure sends a message instantly, one that will be logged, interpreted, replayed. So the carrier holds steady. From above, the pattern would look deliberate. 6 gray arrows pointed inward, one massive shape in the center moving in a straight line through them. A tightening ring. Contact delta altering heading 5 degrees in. That is when the tension shifts. Delta's move is not dramatic. It is precise, measured, calculated to drive CPA below 2 nautical miles if the carrier maintains course. And the carrier does maintain course. Inside CIC, the track supervisor flags the maneuver in red. Priority attention. Electronic sensors flood with fresh data. Russian radars change modes, narrower beams, tighter focus. They are no longer merely aware of the carrier, they are studying it. The carrier is studying them right back. Every emission is captured, stored, and time-stamped. The Russian ships believe they are compressing the space. In reality, they are expanding the record. CPA, 1.9 nautical miles, still trending lower. On the bridge, several seconds pass with no one speaking. Then the captain breaks the silence. Maintain course. Just 2 words, no emphasis, no explanation. The Russian ships hold position. The ring is now too tight to dismiss. Sailors topside can see steel on the horizon, hulls moving through the water in controlled alignment. This is no accident. This is pressure applied at sea. No shots are fired, no alarms scream. But every system aboard the carrier is fully alert, watching 6 naval vessels operating at close range, and one of them is still moving in. At 5:34 local time, the carrier's speed remains unchanged, 22 knots, constant, unremarkable on the surface, entirely intentional underneath. From the outside, it may look passive. Inside the network, it looks absolute. The surface picture is no longer limited to one ship. Data is flowing across the strike group in real time. Escorts, airborne sensors, offboard feeds, merged into one exact model of the water around them. 6 Russian ships, every bearing, every turn rate, every acceleration logged to the second. This is no longer about who is closer, it is about who sees more. Inside the Combat Information Center, the tactical display now has depth as well as detail. Not just icons on a screen, but layered certainty. Predicted paths stretch ahead of each contact. Engagement geometry calculates quietly in the background. Time to intercept numbers appear and vanish as the algorithms refresh. Nobody needs to read them aloud. The Russian ships continue adjusting the encirclement in subtle cycles. Tightening, easing, tightening again. Pressure on, pressure off. Testing for a reaction. They get none. The carrier's escorts remain outside the immediate picture, far enough away to avoid becoming part of the choreography, close enough to respond instantly if needed. Their radars are active but disciplined. Their systems remain covered. This is restraint by design, not hesitation. Above the formation, invisible to the naked eye, the air picture fills in. Surveillance assets observe the movement from angles the Russian ships never account for. From altitude, the pattern looks different, cleaner, more obvious. The ring is not a trap, it is exposure. Russian emissions shifting frequency bands. Electronic warfare specialists lean closer to their consoles. The change does not unsettle them, it interests them. Every adjustment reveals habits, preferences, limits. Every sweep leaves a signature, and every signature can be cataloged. On the bridge, sunlight flashes across the sea as the carrier's bow cuts cleanly through the water. Sailors topside move with purpose, but never with panic. Helm steady, course unchanged. The message remains the same. We are not reacting. We are recording. CPA holds between 1.8 and 2 nautical miles. The nearest Russian ship remains just outside the most dangerous threshold, close enough to see every detail clearly, yet still far enough to avoid crossing that invisible boundary. Both sides understand exactly where that line is, and both sides know the other understands it too. This is where true advantage reveals itself, not through firepower, but through control. The Russian ships intensify their sensor activity, narrower beams, more focused scans. Electronically, they lean forward, trying to read the carrier's posture, searching for any signal, any hint of intent. What they don't realize is simple. The carrier isn't trying to hide. It doesn't have to. Everything they're searching for has already been measured, analyzed, and stored many times over. What matters now isn't what they can see, it's what they're revealing. Inside CIC, a junior analyst notices a pattern. Repeating radar sweep intervals. A slight timing drift between two Russian ships. Coordinated, but not perfectly synchronized. Logged. Another operator catches a delay between a maneuver command and its execution on one vessel. Small, but noticeable. Likely older systems. Logged. No one announces these findings out loud. There's no need. The system captures everything. On the bridge, the captain watches through polarized glass. 6 gray hulls now evenly spaced, holding their formation. They are waiting for a reaction, any reaction, a turn, a speed change, something that breaks the stillness. They get nothing. Contact Bravo, reducing speed. That's new. Bravo drops from 25 knots to 22, matching the carrier exactly. Not aggressive, almost inquisitive. Mirroring. The formation shifts again, adjusting to the change. The carrier remains steady. Silence stretches. The sea is calm, but the situation is no longer static. It is balanced, tight, and deliberate. Every Russian ship is now within visual range. Sailors can see hull lines, deck layouts, even crew movement. Flags are visible. So are cameras. They're recording too. That's expected. But what they don't see is the difference in perspective. They see a carrier surrounded. The carrier sees 6 ships fully mapped, fully measured, fully understood. This is the moment when pressure stops building and starts testing resolve. And one ship is about to push that test too far. 5:41 local time. The shift happens quietly. Contact Delta altering course. Aggressive vector. Delta turns inward. Not wide, not dramatic. A precise move designed to compress space directly ahead of the carrier's bow. CPA drops quickly. 2.1 nautical miles. 2.0. 1.7. Now the numbers matter. At this distance, wake interaction becomes real. At this distance, assumptions carry risk. On the bridge, the officer of the deck speaks evenly. Mark Delta priority track. Inside CIC, Delta's symbol turns solid red. Sensors automatically retask. Cameras swing into position. Range gates tighten. Delta accelerates again, 28 knots. Its bow wake sharpens, white water cutting across the dark surface. This is no longer mirroring. This is a probe. The carrier does not turn. The captain remains still, hands resting lightly on the chart table. Eyes forward. No command to maneuver, no escalation. The choice is intentional. If the carrier turns now, the entire narrative changes. So it doesn't. Recommend airborne presence. The request moves smoothly through the chain. Approved. On the flight deck, a Seahawk crew is already in motion. No alarms, no rush, just practiced precision. Blades unfold. Systems power up. From Delta's bridge, the helicopter is impossible to ignore. It lifts cleanly and moves low over the water, nose pointed directly at the approaching ship. Not aggressive, not fast, just unavoidable. The Seahawk holds at 200 feet, offset along Delta's port side. Cameras recording, sensors locked. Every detail is captured. Deck layout, crew positions, antenna arrays. The helicopter never crosses the bow. It doesn't need to. A green laser pulses once, steady and unmistakable, marking the bridge windows. Controlled, non-lethal, precise. Then the radio call. Russian naval vessel. This is a United States Navy aircraft. You are conducting unsafe maneuvers in international waters. Alter course immediately. The message repeats. Delta holds its course for a few seconds. Then the change comes. Its wake shortens. Speed drops from 28 knots to 24. CPA stabilizes. Inside CIC, the update appears instantly. Delta reducing speed. CPA holding at 1.6 nautical miles. The formation begins to shift. Two ships widen their positions, opening space that had been tightening moments before. Another falls back, creating distance astern. The geometry loosens. Pressure eases, not all at once, but enough to be unmistakable. The Seahawk remains steady overhead, silent and present. Cameras still rolling, sensors still listening. This isn't intimidation, it's documentation. Finally, a response from Delta's bridge. Brief, formal. Controlled. United States naval vessel. We are conducting routine operations. We request safe separation. The captain listens. He doesn't answer immediately. Then, maintain course. The reply is transmitted, calm and neutral. You are operating in international waters. Your maneuvers are being recorded. Nothing more. The Seahawk pulls away slowly, climbing just enough to clear the airspace, never stopping its recording. Delta adjusts course by 4 degrees, small but decisive. CPA increases, 1.8 nautical miles, 2.2. The formation begins to unwind. Ships that had been pressing inward now drift outward, restoring distance without any display or signal. No abrupt turns, no announcements, just space returning to the sea. On the bridge, the captain exhales quietly. Not relief, resolution. The carrier continues forward. Same course, same speed, flight deck still. The boundary was tested, then re-established. The Russian ships now hold safer distances. Their formation is looser, observational, rather than pressing. The moment has passed, and the outcome is clear, without a single shot. By 5:44, the water opens again. What was once tight geometry relaxes into distance. Bearings widen, CPA numbers climb. The ring dissolves, not through force, but through restraint. One ship turns outward first, 5 degrees. No announcement, another follows, then another. The rest pause briefly as if confirming the shift before easing away one by one. The choreography reverses, quiet, controlled, deliberate. No retreat signal is given, none is needed. Inside CIC, the display stabilizes. Red priority markers fade back to normal tracking. Predicted paths now extend away from the carrier instead of toward it. Contacts increasing range. The captain nods once. The Seahawk returns to the deck, landing with the same precision it launched with. Blades fold. Systems power down. Recording continues until everything is secured. Inside CIC, the logging never stops. Timestamps. Course changes. Speed adjustments. Every second preserved. This is the part no one sees. Not the tightening formation, not the laser marking the bridge, not the moment the distance stopped shrinking. The record. Every move, every signal, every hesitation. This is where the real outcome exists. On the bridge, one fact stands out above all. The carrier never changed course. 22 knots from beginning to end. No turn to port, no turn to starboard, no variation in speed. From the outside, it looks uneventful. From the inside, it is decisive. The Russian ships now maintain distance. Still visible, still tracking, but no longer pressing. Their formation has shifted to observation. The pressure is gone. No one declares victory. No announcements, no applause. That's not how it works. The carrier continues forward, cutting through open water as the horizon clears. Sailors return to routine tasks. Watches rotate. Coffee cups appear beside glowing consoles that never went dark. For the crew, this wasn't a confrontation. It was a process, a test of discipline, a demonstration of control. Inside the network, analysts begin their work, comparing logs, aligning timelines, matching signals to known patterns, confirming what was already suspected. 6 ships approached, one pushed too close, then they didn't. That distinction matters, because at sea, escalation isn't defined by actions taken, but by decisions made under pressure. The Russian ships chose distance. The carrier chose consistency. No one crossed the final boundary. That's the point. As the distance continues to grow, the surface picture simplifies. 6 contacts fade into the background. Priority shifts back to routine operations. The moment ends quietly. And that's how it will be recorded. Time, location, participants, actions, no emotion, no conclusions, just facts. A U.S. aircraft carrier maintained course in international waters. 6 Russian warships approached. 1 tested the boundary held. The ocean returns to stillness. Flat water, clear horizon, steel moving forward without interruption, and somewhere in the logs that moment remains, unchanged. A reminder that real control at sea doesn't belong to the loudest presence or the closest approach. It belongs to the one that never needed to move.